The Houston Texans secondary took yesterday's success personal. They had a big day. We'll talk all about that. Plus, what stood out from the offense. Presented by my friends at draftkits.co. Check the link in the description down below to get your fantasy league a customized, reusable draft board. So the secondary with the big day, that's the top story. That's the biggest observation that I have from day 7 of Houston Texans training camp. And that's where we will begin with a day where C.J. Gardner-Johnson brought from Philadelphia his belts to asses mentality. The secondary really had a nice day overall. It felt like up and down the depth chart, from Russ Yeast, who is a backup safety, to Derek Stingley himself, the best player on the Texans. Everybody in the secondary felt like they were near some sort of play or made some sort of play. Let's start with Stingley. He had a couple of really nice pass breakups on passes that were intended for Nico Collins over the middle. Kamari Lassiter was step for step with Nico Collins down the field when C.J. Stroud tried to hit a deep ball to the star wide receiver for the Texans. And then Kalen Bullock closed at the same time, almost came up with an interception. MJ Stewart had himself an interception in this practice when he stepped in front of a intended receiver and picked off Davis Mills. Tremont Smith had an interception in this practice. Tremont Smith flew over at the end of a play and batted away a ball that was intended on a down-the-field pass for Jalen Knoll. Perhaps the best play by the secondary of the day was Jalen Reed, the rookie safety out of Penn State. Davis Mills dropped back. He looked to rocket that thing over the middle. He was looking for Brevin Jordan. And right before the ball got to 9, inserted right in front of Brevin Jordan was Jalen Reed. He caught the pass, took it back the other way. I'm telling you, play after play, it felt like this secondary was making it impossible to get going in the air. We'll talk about the success the offense did ultimately have, but they had the clamps on, and the energy was super high thanks to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He was feeling himself. He was feeling his teammates' energy on the sideline as well. They were celebrating over on the sideline and having a great time when the second and third team were in there, and he made it known to the offense that he felt like they were kicking their tail during this practice, and that's exactly what they did. I loved his mentality and his approach after. He said he's not defending this year. He's out hunting again. Of course, he would be defending if he was on the Eagles, but he's out hunting for a Super Bowl. He called the Texans Super Bowl contenders. He spoke very highly of his teammates in the secondary. But again, it felt like every level of this secondary, almost every player had some bit of success, even those down the depth chart players like a Russ Yeast. Damon Arnett was in on a play at one point. Everybody in the secondary got going, and I would give a big thumbs up to the secondary overall. They made it very difficult for the Texans to pass the ball consistently. They forced the offense into some coverage sacks and allowed the defense to take care of some business. Because they covered so well, C.J. Stroud had to scramble a handful of times. The deep passing game, something to pay attention to for this offense. Still haven't seen that easy deep shot. Well, none of it's easy against the secondary and defense, but still haven't seen that hook up, that connection on a deep shot where somebody gets way behind the secondary. Just haven't quite caught that yet. Oh, one more thing that I forgot to mention. Dalton Schultz, none too pleased with C.J. Gardner-Johnson's defense on him on one snap. He was begging for a flag. Ultimately, the official did not throw the yellow laundry, but C.J. Gardner-Johnson was very excited to have that play end up in an incomplete. He was all over the place. Kalen Bullock is so good. Man, I just loved what the secondary brought to the table. Now, just because the secondary had a great day doesn't mean there weren't things to talk about with the passing game, because there certainly were. I mentioned it was tough to get that deep passing game going, but C.J. Stroud and Davis Mills a couple of different times found some of that short passing game for some success. Stroud was able to find Christian Kirk a couple of different times, one most notably when the offensive line took care of their business, and 7 was able to get it to 13. There's your 713 connection for this season, by the way. And that was a connection that worked a couple of times for the Texans. Nico Collins on a short pass. I know Stingley got him once or twice, but ultimately Nico is not going to be held down. The biggest play that CJ Stroud was able to make was getting the ball to Nico Collins. Collins had run a nice route, was headed back towards the sideline, and Stroud kind of aired it out to him over on the sideline. Nico, as he was kind of going down to the ground, corralled it. That was a nice play. Mills found Jalen Knoll on a quick one over the middle. The running backs were involved in the receiving as well. So while we talk about the secondary, and they unanimously won the day, I would say, we talk about the secondary, I thought the offense did have some success in their quick game. And then specifically, late in the practice, when they were working on getting into field goal range, there was some quick and easy stuff from the offense to find themselves with an opportunity to give Kaimi Fairbairn a makeable field goal. And I would say specifically, Cade Stover and Davis Mills. There was the D I was looking for. Davis Mills and Cade Stover, back-to-back plays, easily got into field goal range in the 2-minute drill situation. They actually only had a minute. They started on the 45. It was a pass to Stover over the middle, and then a pass interference that Stover drew on EJ Speed. The next thing you know, Kaimi Fairbairn's out there kicking a field goal. So clamps down from the secondary. Really great day from them, but still a little bit of success from that passing offense. And a lot of that was because the offensive line did their job. We'll talk about them in a minute, right after I tell you about my friends at DraftKits. DraftKits.co, the best customized draft boards in the game. Customizable, reusable draft boards. My big fantasy football league that we've had for over a decade, we now have a customizable, reusable draft board. I even just ordered my stickers that go on the board for the draft just the other day, and you can order whatever you want from DraftKits, from the customizable giant draft boards. Maybe you want one a little bit smaller as well. Maybe you just want the one-off paper draft board. DraftKits can get it all to you. You're going to get 10% off with the code CODY25. So use that code at checkout. Tons of different shipping options. It's going to get shipped in a very safe way. So your draft board's going to arrive in great condition. Man, you can do some fun stuff with it. Maybe you want to put the loser's face on there and he's on the draft board, or maybe you want to put you as the champion last year on there. There's tons of different ways that you can get that customized draft board. It's almost draft season, so don't wait too long. Get those orders in at draftkits.co. Check out the link in the description down below. So we talked about the defense to start, and the offense had a little bit of the short passing attack. I want to focus and feature Jawar Jordan, who I believe to this point has been the best running back on the Houston Texans. Better than Nick Chubb, better than Woody Marks, better than Dare Agumbawale, better than British Brooks, and better than J.J. Taylor. Jawar Jordan, last year, a rookie out of Louisville, a 6th-round pick for the Texans. He was banged up. He was off the team. He's on the team. He's on the practice squad. There was not a lot to like about the rookie year from Jawar Jordan. He looks faster. He looks more confident. He looks more sure of himself. He had the best run of the day on Wednesday when he had just enough room. He waited for the offensive line to develop the hole, and he skirted right through it for a nice run. He also had a fantastic catch on 3rd and long for 10 yards, and man, he is seamless and smooth out of the backfield when he is catching the football. Jawar Jordan has been the best running back at Texans training camp, and he has a shot to make this team. And I know coming into camp, it was probably a super long shot. It's still a little bit of a long shot, but it's a much, much more manageable long shot. And I don't know if the Texans could deny this if this keeps up through next week when they're in West Virginia, the preseason game against the Minnesota Vikings, the following week when the Carolina Panthers come to town for joint practice, the preseason game against the Panthers, the joint practice against the Lions. If Jawar Jordan keeps checking those boxes, Jawar Jordan's got to be on the Houston Texans. In fact, if they had to play a regular season game tomorrow and Joe Mixon wasn't available and Dameon Pierce wasn't available, I'd start Jawar Jordan at running back. Now, that's not ideal, but that's how good Jawar Jordan has been in training camp up to this point. And I'm excited to see even more, especially as this offensive line, a few more holes today for their running backs. As this offensive line kind of gels and congeals together and they figure out how to get this thing going, then I'm going to be really excited to see what Jawar Jordan can offer from that running back spot. It's going to be a fun watch to see if he can keep this up because he has been the best running back in Texans training camp. Let's talk about offensive line. Let's focus initially on Ariante Ursery, who again was the first right tackle out there for the Texans. Man, when it's good from Ursery, you understand exactly why he was a second round pick that many thought could go higher in the second round than where he went. He is so smooth sometimes that just letting pass rushers take themselves out of the play, where he kind of knows where the quarterback is and is supposed to be, and he just sort of traffics the pass rusher past the quarterback. Sometimes he uses power. He is a big, strong individual, so sometimes he just uses power. When he locks up some of these defensive linemen, they don't really go anywhere. He's pushing a little bit in the run game. I think there's still some things to develop for him in the run game, especially when he's, run blocking from a position that he didn't play in college, because he played primarily left tackle, didn't play hardly any right tackle at Minnesota. So maybe there's still a little bit of that there. Now, Danielle Hunter did get him one time, and it was a move that I don't know that Ursery's seen from Hunter yet before, but Danielle Hunter hit him with sort of an inside move when Ursery went to set, and Ursery wasn't ready for it. He was kind of off balance. It collapsed the pocket, and then there was sort of a swarm sack, as my friend Landry Locker has termed those sacks, where it's hard to determine who exactly got the sack. But Ursery had some really nice moments against Hunter later on. He had some good moments at left tackle against some of the other pass rushers, including a moment where he stood up Darrell Taylor on a nice play. So there's a lot to like from Ursery to this point. And if they had to play a game tomorrow, they don't, but if they had to play a game tomorrow, I do believe Ariante Ursery would and should be the starting right tackle for the Houston Texans. It just hasn't looked good enough from Blake Fisher. Ursery on the first team offensive line, joined by Cam Robinson at left tackle, Laken Tomlinson at left guard. The center initially was Jake Andrews and Titus Howard at right guard. Now, not a lot of swapping and moving out with those five guys, except for at center. Jake Andrews and Jared Patterson swap off at center. They interchange in team periods who goes with what is the first team offensive line and snapping to CJ Stroud. So it started Andrews and went to Patterson, then it was back to Andrews, then it was back to Patterson. So they're swapping and swapping, flipping and flopping is what I meant to say. And that feels like the toughest competition to determine who is winning there on the offensive line, is that center competition, who ultimately is going to snap to CJ Stroud in this offense. And if I had to guess, I would say Jake Andrews. Like, hey, they're playing tomorrow. Who is it? I'd say Jake Andrews, but Patterson doesn't feel like he's really far behind Andrews either. So the offensive line, pretty good day from them. Not a bad day, not a great day, just solid. They had some moments where they had just enough to give CJ Stroud time to go out there and get rid of the ball. There were a couple of times where Stroud scrambled too much, and I don't know that that's all on the offensive line. They weren't like the, oh my God, Danielle Hunter just beat his guy in record time and he's coming at me scrambles. They were, hey, the play's here. Who's open? No one's open. Crap. Let's get out of here. That was kind of the gist of the scramble, not, oh God, Will Anderson won in 0.2 seconds and he's coming after me. Let's get out of here type of scrambles that we saw a couple of times early on in training camp. So the offensive line, and they battled yesterday, getting a, I don't want to say thumbs up, but if they were like a gladiator, I'd give them the thumbs sideways. They'd get to fight again in the gladiatorial arena. So decent, solid day from the offensive line. Pretty good, maybe is a little stretch, but decent, solid is probably the best way to say it. And a highlight on Ariante Ursery, who is doing a really good job to make a campaign for himself to be the starting right tackle for this Texans team. And of course, he's playing a little left tackle as well for the third team. One little itty bitty nugget note here: Zach Thomas is primarily playing left tackle as a backup, as the second team. So with him playing left tackle primarily, it would lead you to believe that if they had to keep four tackles, they'd keep starter Cam Robinson, starter Ariante Ursery, left tackle Robinson, right tackle Ursery, and then Fisher would be the backup right tackle, and Thomas would be the backup left tackle for this Texans team. Just a small little note. And we're going to have to kind of understand Thomas's reps a little bit more going forward, in addition to paying attention to if there's any more swapping at this first team offensive line, because they put the same crew out there for the most part in a back-to-back days. So that's something to pay attention to, and I'll be paying attention to it when they get back on the field on Friday, an off day tomorrow. What say you about the observations from today, the big ones? Let me know in the comment section down below on your way down there. Thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel, get you a customized draft board from my friends at draftkits.co. Check out the link in the description and figure out how you get that discount as well. And I appreciate you watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait until we talk Texans again soon.